Hi, Alex Polyak here. On November 12, 2024, a major update was released for GTA The Trilogy, the definitive edition on consoles and PC. The three games received innovations that previously appeared in the mobile version of the definitive edition, and even some completely new changes. And during the initial acquaintance with the new version of these games, I also noticed some bugs and problematic moments transferred by the developers from the mobile edition. So what has GTA The Trilogy become? We will talk about this in more detail now. Let's start from the very beginning. Now the player is required to check the box confirming that he has read and agreed to the terms of service and the privacy policy. Rockstar began to actively use this technique in 2024. After the player checks the box, he is greeted by the text from the copyright holder, in which there is no longer a mention of the Grove Street Games studio, which initially worked on GTA The Trilogy, the definitive edition. Let me remind you that the mobile version of this edition, as well as the new patch on PC and consoles, were developed by another studio. The head of Grove Street Games has already expressed dissatisfaction with this, writing that if their studio was initially involved in these re-releases and even made unique fixes for the trilogy, then it would be reasonable to leave a mention of this studio on the start screen. These words caused a strong reaction from GTA fans, who began to point out that the studio did a very poor job, also recalling the porting of GTA San Andreas to mobile devices, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. I am not going to judge now whether this studio should remain at the beginning of the game or not. By the way, it remained in the end credits. But I will just say that it seems to me that blaming Grove Street Games for everything is wrong. This studio is an executor, and no matter how dubious its quality is, it is not responsible for key decisions. I mean, it was the publisher Rockstar Games and Take-Two who decided that a product of such low quality could be sold to players. Or Rockstar simply did not bother to carry out quality control of the product, which also looks extremely irresponsible on its part. I want players to remember all this when talking about the reasons for the poor state of the definitive edition. But the only thing that somehow fixes this situation is the new patch, so let's get back to its review. Initially, in the definitive edition, after the introductory video of each game of the trilogy, a special screen with art of a girl and another text from the copyright holders appeared. Now there is no such splash screen. When entering any of the three games, we will see updated graphics, more colorful and warm. In Vice City and San Andreas, such graphics refer to the original look of these games when they were released in the 2000s on PlayStation 2. Now it is called Classic Lighting. This is an option that can be found in the settings. If you turn it off, the original graphics of the definitive edition will be returned, more realistic but rather faceless. In GTA 3, classic lighting creates an atmosphere reminiscent of Liberty City stories, and this looks strange and out of place because the classic GTA 3 is not like that. In Vice City, the updated lighting does not raise any questions. The game's atmosphere has become warmer and more reminiscent of the original PlayStation 2 game. But San Andreas not only has classic lighting based on the original, but also brought back a unique color scheme for each location. Let me remind you that earlier in the definitive edition, no matter where you were in San Andreas, the time cycle was always tailored to Los Santos. But now, each location has its own special atmosphere again. In addition, GTA San Andreas has received improved fog, which beautifully and naturally hides distant corners of the map, and this is much better than the light haze that was added to the game earlier. The trilogy also received improved clouds, which you can enjoy by turning on classic lighting. The shadows from objects now move slowly, smoothly, and naturally, instead of the sharp spurts that occurred before. In addition to all this, there are innovations that, in my opinion, were unnecessary. For example, earlier in the definitive edition, it was possible to go to the pause menu right during a cutscene. But in the new patch, we can only pause the cutscene, and we can no longer enter the pause menu. By the way, there have been some changes in the menu itself. In the options in the accessibility section, new items have appeared: terms of service, privacy policy, and contact support. When you click on any of these three items, the corresponding page on the Rockstar Games website will open in your browser. In the same accessibility section, the version number of the definitive edition is indicated. Previously, it was located on the right side, but with the release of the patch, the version number has been moved to the left side. The list of save games has also been updated, and now it shows the date and exact time when the save was made. The wheel for selecting weapons and radio stations has undergone a slight redesign. Previously, the background of such a wheel was painted in a certain color. It was gold in GTA 3, pink in Vice City, and green in San Andreas. At the same time, you could notice strange artifacts such as a stripe at the bottom and silhouettes of the surrounding area. In general, this unfortunate moment is no longer in the definitive edition, but I'm not sure that the developers should have removed the unique background color for each game. The effects were also transferred from the mobile version, but in some cases it can hardly be called a good decision. Fire looks quite good. Dust from under the wheels also looks normal and seems more visible than before. But what really got worse is the effect of water splashes, which began to look less saturated. And if you knock down a fire hydrant, we will not see water, but something similar to a gas leak. The smoke from under the hood looks especially sad because before it was quite noticeable and therefore showed the vehicle health condition and the player could always focus on it. But now it is barely visible smoke, so a car fire can be a complete surprise for the player. Surely some other effects have also been changed, and I can really understand why the water stream and smoke were simplified in the mobile version, but why this was done on the PC is completely unclear to me. The vegetation has undergone something like a redistribution. For example, look at the alley across the street from the film studio in Vice City. And here is the Panopticon area in San Andreas, where there is less grass, but a bush has appeared. Surely there are many more such differences in the map. The vehicles in the trilogy have become so light that the main character can easily push them with their own weight. The busted inscription during the arrest of the player became larger, and the wasted inscription during the complete loss of health became smaller. Some textures were reworked and acquired a more authentic look. A clear example is the sign near Claude's first hideout. Some textures were corrected, removing previously made errors. This is evidenced by the sticker on the doors in the first hideout. And the toilet where Claude and Ray Machowski met finally became male again because earlier, due to an absurd mistake of the developers, the main character received missions in the women's toilet. In the garage in Shoreside Vale, all three parts of the gate began to open, although previously both in the definitive edition and in the original, only the two outer parts opened. The capacity of the garage did not change in any way, it just became more convenient to use. The music in Salvatore Leone's estate was fixed and no longer interrupted. In Vice City, at the film studio, a model of a ship no longer protrudes from the roof of one of the hangars. The next change we'll talk about is something crazy. I initially noticed this in the mobile version, but the same thing has now been added to the PC. In GTA San Andreas, in the missions where Claude appears, the same model of this character is now used as in GTA 3 Definitive Edition, where Claude is the main character. That is, before in San Andreas there was, although not the most successful, but still a model of a younger Claude, which was logical because the storyline of the game takes place 9 years before the events of GTA 3. And now, there is no young version of the character. Now it's just a copy of a person, except for the eyes, which are almost invisible. I believe that when they were working on the well-known problem of Definitive Edition, namely the appearance of the characters, the developers decided to take the easiest way out and took a ready-made model and texture of Claude from another game. Thus, in my opinion, a serious mistake was made that directly affects the plot and violates the chronological logic of the trilogy. Now here's the next detail I really like, and I'm glad to see such a change in all 20 years of GTA San Andreas. After completing the first mission, where the Ballas gang disrupts the funeral of the Johnsons' family mother, her grave will now be buried, which was not the case even in the original game. And when the grave is opened, you can see that the developers have fixed the collision. The same goes for the Ballas grave, whose funeral is once disrupted by the Johnson brothers. Jetpack control, namely takeoff and landing, is now reassigned to the Q and E keys instead of the mouse keys, which were previously used by default and caused inconvenience for many PC players. In the Johnson house on Grove Street, there is a notebook, which after some game update became smaller and left a trace around it. Now this small thing has been fixed. Many more bugs of previous versions of Definitive Edition were fixed in a similar way. Here are some more interesting examples. The red fire in the center of Blueberry Farm is gone. The Palomino Creek Beach Barn has had its collision fixed and is now walkable again. The texture of the Brown Streak train has been fixed. The textures of the tombstones in the Palomino Creek Cemetery have been corrected. The fake interiors have been removed from the outside of the local bank, correcting an inappropriate detail because at a certain point in the plot the bank is open and we can see its real premises. Similarly, the fake interiors have been corrected in some other places, but unfortunately not everywhere. And by the way, the reflections in such places still look unsuccessful because they use a fixed landscape with palm trees, which sometimes does not match the surrounding area at all. The wooden fence again began to destroy correctly, as in the original. The Patriot military SUV received a green color scheme, and although this does not match the original beige color, it is still better than the red color from previous versions of the Definitive Edition. Comparing with the photos of the real prototype, green is quite appropriate for this car, although, of course, the original desert color for San Andreas would have been more authentic. In Mad Dog's mansion, some shadowy areas have been fixed, which once again look like dark corners where CJ can go into stealth mode, but not all of them have been fixed. CJ finally floats better. The oil rigs in the desert now have working motion animations again. The famous rooster in Las Payasadas is pecking again. And the zoomer logos are spinning again, like in the good old days. The sprunk can also now spins. And the donut in Fort Carson and the sign across the street are now movable again. And here's a rare case where a bug was carried over from the mobile version and not some useful fix. The mirrors in the tattoo parlors used to be like this, but now the reflection in them is spoiled. Of course, these are not all the differences in the updated The Trilogy, and in other videos we will definitely continue to study the features of the Definitive Edition. Some GTA fans are interested in the issue of optimization of the updated games. My personal experience is that with maximum graphic settings and a limit of 60 FPS, I have a fairly stable frame rate and I do not observe any serious problems. You can see the characteristics of the PC itself on the screen now. Well, now I want to sum it up. It seems that the new patch has many more pros than cons, and looking at this, you kind of want to say, well done, they really fixed it. But it is difficult to ignore the fact that this edition should have been in approximately this form, if not better, from the very beginning, and not 3 years later. But in any case, this is a step in the right direction. Although there are concerns that this may be the last major update to the Definitive Edition. I hope this assumption is wrong, because these games still have enough of such unpleasant moments as texture holes, problems with object collision, incorrect animations, incorrect placement of grass, leaves, and various debris, inappropriate objects, an inconvenient camera in transport in the PC version, plants that cannot be knocked down in the desert, some unsuccessful effects, and other problematic moments. All this makes the updated games unworthy of such a loud name as GTA The Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. What do you think about this? Write in the comments. Also, I will be glad to see your likes under this video and your subscription to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.